Okay, so we're going to talk about how to graph a rational function. So remember, the first thing that you always have to do is you have to factor out whatever's happening to x, right? So let's rewrite this whole thing with that -3 factored out. So factoring out means dividing. So there we go. Okay. The next thing we have to do is we have to figure out where the asymptotes are, right? So this +1 here is the vertical translation, right? And vertical translation means it's moving things up and down. So that can have an effect on our horizontal asymptote, right? So our horizontal asymptote is going to go up by 1, and there it is, right? Then the next thing we have to do is we have to figure out what's happening to the vertical asymptote. Well, here is the horizontal translation, right? So this is actually moving 2 to the left, right? So that means that our horizontal asymptote is back here, right? Okay, now the next thing we have to do is we have to figure out where a couple of key points go, right? So those key points, we know they have to just be stretched vertically and horizontally from this origin right here, right? So from that origin, all right? So vertically, what's happening is there's a vertical stretch of 2, right? And horizontally, there's a horizontal stretch by a factor of 3. So I shouldn't really say of. I should say by a factor of. And it's a horizontal stretch by a factor of 3. And this negative also tells us that there's a reflection horizontally, which means across the y-axis, right? So what that means is that originally we had a point that was 1, 1 and 1, 1 away, so 1, 1 and -1, 1 away from the origin, right? But this vertical stretch multiplies that by 2 vertically and by 3 horizontally. So really this 1, 1 now becomes 3, 2 and goes here, except there's a reflection across the y-axis. So the next thing that happens is that it gets reflected that way. So there's our new point. And if we want to talk about what's happening to the -1, -1, right? Well, it got stretched vertically by a factor of 2, horizontally by a factor of 3, so it ends up here, except the vertical reflection, or sorry, the horizontal reflection lands it over here. And now I can just plot my graph based on that info. Okay? And that's all we need. So now if we look at all the stuff that we put in that we don't need, we can get rid of all that, get rid of that. And there's our graph roughly, right? So that's what graphing by graphing a rational function looks like, right? So from this new origin, see how we've moved it left 2 and up 1? That's because of this left 2 and up 1. And from there, from that new origin, we're looking at the vertical stretches, which take our point and stretch it vertically by 2 and horizontally by 3. So vertically from there by 2 and horizontally by 3. And there's the new point. And same thing with the other one, vertically, horizontally.